Hello again. So today's project is starting to assemble my CNC from 3D printer parts hash up as I go along little project. So this is I guess number one. So I have done some work on it, which I've done off camera. So the base is looking a little bit messy with hot glue, etc. It is quite solid because I've also got screws. It's mounted on two pieces of MDF, basically to give it some weight, because I don't want it to float around, obviously. So what I've got to put in is one stepper motor, one screw drive slider for the base, one screw fitting, two slider rails, four bearings, one platform which has already had an addition added to it, and some miscellaneous bits and pieces, and a bunch of screws, and a flexi mount, which I will talk about a little bit later on. Perhaps not the best decision, but we'll go with it. Right, so first things first is I'll put the sliders in with the horizontal bearings. So the horizontal bearings are just straight out of the 3D kit, used for the X axis, and same with the rails, but I've actually cut the rails down. So the original size of the rails was this, so I've used just a little Dremel to cut them down to size, and the same for the screw rod. So it's these in position, and we'll mount the end caps. So these are here to stop them from falling off, stop these from falling off. So they're just held on with screw and a nut. Pretty basic technology. So these parts here are also from the 3D printer kit. So I've used these because they give me the good spacing for the rails. So just an easier option. Didn't see the point of using custom side panels and making it up. Not trying to go overboard here. So this first stage doesn't actually use any 3D printer parts at all. It's fundamentally just all parts from the actual original 3D printer kit that I'm using. I never built this kit. I bought it for this project. I did get it at a good price, which was 200 NZ. I have no idea how much that works out as US. Probably not a lot, to be honest. Right, so the idea of these, that just stops the rails from exiting the platform. Some of you might notice that I haven't removed the brown wrap. No particular reason. Adds a bit of contrast. Okay, that's that done. So now I need to put the motor on. So due to the length of the screws that I've got, I did have to use the spacer. But the spacer actually come in handy anyway, just for a little bit of up and down movement. Let's get out. Right, sorry, gone quiet, concentrating. So you might notice that this just a little, when I'm screwing, I'll just back it up until I hear it click into the thread, and then I can screw it forward. Just means you don't cross thread. It also means that if you're doing that on plastics, so if you're unscrewing something that's on a plastic body or something, when you screw it back in, if you just back the screw up until you hear or feel it click into the position, it means you can screw forward and you're not actually causing a new thread to be built, so you don't wear out your plastics. Right, so now we've got the rod good to go in. So the rod's got plenty of movement there. It's not designed to be perfectly stiff. Just allows for any movement in the or offset of the motor. Now that's the same for this adapter. It adapts from the size of the motor spindle to the size of the thread or rod or whatever you want to use it for. So gives you the movement. Unfortunately, there is a downside, and this is where I thought did I make a boo-boo? Maybe. Actually, I just did make a boo-boo. So let's take that off again. So the problem with having the spring-loaded adapter is it's going to bring in some lateral movement, which isn't necessarily going to be ideal. So what I mean by that is, if you see this, we've got that movement. Now that's going to be undesirable when the mill's actually working, because the motor's going to pull it in, but it could stretch and it could push in. So what I'm going to do there is I've actually got some rubber, and I'm going to glue the rubber right around, so it'll still give me some movement, but I shouldn't get the springiness. So that should stop that flex and play, he says, hopefully. Right, so I'll put the first bed on. So the reason I say first bed is that there's going to be two. Can't even remember which way around. There we go. So very much looking like pretty generic 3D printer at this stage. And that's fine. The next part is where I actually do the y-axis, and that's where I've actually done things a little bit different to others that I've seen, and I can explain that through in the next video. So just have to screw these up. I'm not doing them up tight at this stage, just until I've got them all fitted. Oops, don't run away on me. So you can see it's nice and free. Now you might see that I've called this or heard that I call this the x-axis. That's entirely arbitrary. Kind of really depends on which way around you have the really. Okay. There we go. Sure, watching me screw things in is not very interesting. So the overall bed size I was looking for with this CNC is quite small. Bearing in mind it's sort of what I call a proof of concept. Yeah. Don't know if this is going to work, especially just to see if the idea works. The other thing I'd like to build at some stage is a lathe. Just when I say a lathe, I'm not talking about a big heavy duty lathe for milling out axles and car parts and steam engines, etc. But more of a small mini desktop lathe for doing plastics, maybe some alloy, maybe some light copper work, just to enhance the mini part of what I do. You know, I've got my mini 3D printer and I've got my mini, well, hopefully I'm going to have my mini mill. So there we go, that's the first axis done. Eventually this will be screwed into here for the motor to control it, and I've still got to do the X stops, Y stops. So I've got all the wiring, got the control panel, and I've got the original circuitry. I don't know how much of this I'll be able to use. That's an unknown at this stage. I'm going to try to use it. Whether or not that will be a thing. I have bought some Arduino Mini 1, I think. Mini 1. Uno 1. To use if this idea doesn't work out, but I need expansion boards, and there's going to be a bit of a learning curve there for me. So that's part one of the 3D printer part CNC Mill project. So far, oh, there was rubbish there. So far it looks pretty much like a 3D printer bed, because it is. Okay guys, thank you for your time. I hope as we go on the project will be of interest to some people, and I'm sure some people go, why the hell is he doing it that way? Because I've done that myself. Okay guys, thank you.